I love you to bits, but I think you've gotten yourself intoxicated on MAGA.
How can you love me if you don't respect what I stand for?
You don't stand for it, it stands in for you. It's a prop, a costume, a false front. You've disappeared behind it because you feel proud of yourself for being represented by it.
But it's what I believe in.
So you say, and maybe you're right, though I doubt it. MAGA doesn't walk its talk. It's all lip service to make anxious people feel confident. Trump ran on nothing but pretending he's always right, and you fell for it. People have always fallen for that stuff.
Don't insult my beliefs.
It's not belief. It's relief, like an addiction to anything that makes us feel better about ourselves.
That's just mean. You can't really love me.
I do. I see you trying to hide behind your supposed beliefs, but I still see you, my very human friend. I'm not distracted by your MAGA costume.
Don't tell me how I feel. I know how I feel.
I don't get to tell you how you feel, but I'm entitled to my interpretation, right? Like you are when you tell me I don't really love you.
But you don't. You don't respect me. You should trust me.
I trust you to act like a human. People fall for confidence-boosting costumes and lifestyle brands lot. I have. You've seen me do it. Remember when I got all spiritual on you?
Yeah, you got woke.
I did, just like you're MAGA woke now.
I'm anti-woke.
Look, it's hard to stay confident, especially these days. Identity politics is like a drug that calms folks' nerves and restores confidence. You see others going woke, but don't notice that MAGA is just another big woke broke joke. Different lifestyle brand from my spirituality, but the same kind of self-confidence boost, and more dangerous because it's taken over the government we both depend on.
You don't love me.
I don't show your supposed beliefs the respect you expected, but I love you, buddy. We go back a long way, and I'll be here for you as MAGA tanks like my spirituality did. I'll be here for you as you start to realize you stumbled into the MAGA addiction that's screwing up your life. I have confidence in you, just not in your MAGA identity politics.
I've been a psychoprotologist for maybe 20 years now. And before that, I was kind of anything but. I was a positive optimist. That is, I paid attention to a future that we could have and tried to invite people along into it. I also thought it was somewhat inevitable. I just happened to live in that lucky moment in the United States, a very rare moment by world standards, when things were very easy and seemed to be improving. The technology was coming along, and yet the government was holding up more or less. I was certainly protesting against bad government behavior by my standards. But I was mostly a hopeful guy. And then there were a few things that made me realize that I really had to understand what I'd call absolutists or absolutists, a-holes, narcissists, gaslighters, sociopaths, psychopaths better than I did. I remember talking to a psychiatrist friend of mine and asking whether there was any kind of diagnosis for this kind of billionaire know-it-all, fake saint, fake objective, fake omnipotent kind of person. And he said, no, there actually isn't. I mean, we have the names like psychopath and sociopath and anti-personality disorder and narcissism and all of that, but nothing for this whole constellation and how it converges from different pathways. There are many paths to assholia, but you can get there by any means, and I was startled to realize that it was actually easier than being human. There were other things I was reading along the way. There was the 48 Laws of Power, and it startled me. I realized that there were going to be these people in this world who had, I assumed at the time, no conscience, though by now I would suggest that they have a master excuse for maintaining a calm conscience, a conscience that had been knocked dormant. Anything could be it. You know, I'm mindful. No deed too dirty for a saint like me. Even that's possible. But there's certainly, I'm MAGA, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim. No deed too dirty for a saint like me. And I also was noticing that it didn't matter what angle they came from, whether they were left or right or philosophical or atheist or ideological, by some other means, spiritual, religious. None of that seemed to matter. There was this easy path anyone could take, and I was also seeing more people take it. I think we're in for a lip service epidemic worldwide, when you think about the cost of effort on behalf of other people and the broken windows syndrome situation we're in, where all sorts of other people are being callous. So why not us too? Broken windows is if you live in a part of town that has broken windows, then you think it's okay to break windows. So I began to pay attention to it, and I do with kind of infinite curiosity. So while I do lose sleep over the situation in the United States these days, um, I'm also fully engaged. I don't seem to run on um, faith or hope in the fixed sense. I seem to be cultivating a faster refresh rate. When things go bad, I want to get over it. I want to be sad for a minute, an hour, as little as I can. I want to grieve efficiently as the world moves in this direction. But what I'm talking about is it's going to be easier to not help each other out, and easier through social media, of course, but also through AI, to virtue signal, to lip service. Talk is cheap. It's way cheaper than effort. A lot of people want to have saved the world. That doesn't mean that they want to go through the effort involved in doing so. And so virtue signaling, humble bragging, what I'm calling self-reverence, which I mean as both self-reference and self-reverence, I see them on the rise. But I'm a guy whose happiness comes of having work for which I have infinite patience. And I do for the psychoprotology work. I'm always thinking new thoughts about it, and I'm grateful for them. I would say that thoughts are my confidence currency of late. And so having new thoughts, having curiosity that feeds itself with some ideas that there might be things we haven't tried. So it's easy to be curious if you see some latent potential, and I do around this. And when I have a new idea, I put it out on YouTube and elsewhere. And I got a comment just today that I want to respond to because I think it's indicative of a shift I think we need to make. Someone writes and says, I'm fine with being a toddler coddler. By that he means being nice or humoring or kind to Trumpists. I'm fine with being a toddler coddler, doing this tender approach to morality, but there are limits to my generosity with grown adults, too self-focused to see the harm and suffering they help bring about. Amen to that. I feel a lot of that, and yet I want to challenge it. I want to suggest there are reframings that we might need to do to keep up. So, first of all, I don't mean anything more generous in my behavior with friends who are Trumpists than I would be if I was in Germany and had a Nazi sympathizing friend. This isn't about generosity for me at all. It's about strategy. The situation has gotten very serious very quickly. And the Iran-Epstein war is going to make things escalate very quickly, I suspect. We're going to be frantic. This is when the chickens come home to roost. And the chickens themselves, my word, when I think of it today while I was moving a bed, I thought of the three words insolent, innocent, insulated. Not in that order, I actually had them the other way around. We have been an insulated country for a long time, incredibly insulated. And as a result, we're naive or innocent in that sense, not innocent of consequences. That is, we are due the chicken coming home to roost, but innocent in the sense of naive. And we are incredibly insolent and have been for a long time in the world. We act like we're saints while we act like everybody else. And this is going to be a real problem when gas prices become insurmountable and the entire market crashes, because we're not used to actually very direct consequences of our wars. It's been a long time since the Vietnam War, since we had our lives on the line in a war. It has been spectator sports, very entertaining for the spoiled brats of the United States in some ways is. And I would put me at the top of that heap. I'm among the most spoiled people this world has ever known. So in a way, Trump represents America. He's been very insulated in his life, insulated from consequences. He is very naive, innocent in that one respect, fully culpable, but innocent nonetheless. And he is so insolent in the world. He is like the worst of America, amplified on steroids, all that. So I've got to deal with my fellow citizens, and it's not out of generosity that I do it. It's because I have concerns for me, I have concerns for my kids, I have concerns for everyone's kids, and I was one of those people, like most people in history, and I would argue most animals as well. The meaning of life is to not end it, starting with your lineage. That just seems to be basic for me. So I assumed that I had to leave the world in at least as good shape as I found it, and I thought that during a time when one could afford such optimism. And so I'm not feeling generous. I'm feeling profound loathing. I mean deep hatred for MAGA and the MAGA cult. You say the entire constellation of things that make MAGA MAGA. And that is contempt as well for MAGA voters. I have contempt for them. And I have no problem having contempt for them. After all, they are nothing but contempt for anyone who disagrees with them. So I've got that, and I've got my strategic need. Live and let live is a breeze if you don't have to live with them. I've got to live with these people. And so it's not generosity, it's not sympathy. I don't want any of that to play into how I interact with them. I want to interact with them strategically and tactically. And I've been very interested in how one can cultivate the combination of carrots and sticks, reinforcement and discouragement, just how to set boundaries lovingly, how to connect with the human being inside who does not want to be connected with. These are people, they don't believe in MAGA, they believe in it, and they're hiding behind it. They want this to be impersonal, and I'm trying to connect with them human to human. So, no, I'm not trying to be generous, and at the same time, I have to, not out of generosity, but out of civility, being able to get along with my fellow humans, I have to look at my own shit too, okay? And that's what I keep on inviting us to do. So I'm going to read that message again, and I want you to hear something in it if you can. I'm fine with being a toddler coddler, doing this tender approach to morality. But there are limits to my generosity with grown adults too self-focused to see the harm and suffering they help bring about. Again, amen. But I also have to say, I hear a certain loftiness in there that I am trying to avoid in myself, as though their egotism is beneath me. I hope it is. I work on keeping their egotism from being the kind of thing I fall for, but it is not beneath me. I'm a human being. We human beings have this tendency. Like I say, there are many roads to aholia, assholia, the holy war, self-confidence, self-satisfaction, self-reverence that is so easy for us humans to adopt under whatever lifestyle or no cause other than cause I said so. I mean, it is just so much fun to be smug and snarky and sneering. I adore scornography. I seek mastery in it. I put out snide things about the Trump people all the time for my community and beyond. That is, when I'm putting keywords on my magnificent mic spoofs, those keywords are to try to provoke Trumpists to come and engage with me. But one-on-one, I have to adopt a different strategy because sneering is the problem. The lip service epidemic is really a scornography epidemic, a sneering epidemic. It's the epidemic of people getting into the pornographic self-satisfaction of scorn. And I think we'll do it from every possible angle. There will be cults, there will be counter-cults. It'll be chaos. And it's chaos that echoes what's been going on in the Middle East for millennia and everywhere in the world. It keeps on flaring up. It shows no signs of abating. It only shows signs of getting worse. So when I'm with a Trumpist, I don't want to try to talk rationally to them. That's not going to help. These are people, these are hero bots. They are robotically playing hero. They don't give a rat's ass about any claim, any principle, any cause. They pretend is so important it trumps all other considerations. They don't. So I'm not going to do that. And I could unleash my snark at them, but I know what that's like on the receiving side, and I know that it won't have any effect on them. What effect do I want to cause in them? At minimum, disappointment. I want them to leave our interaction disappointed in themselves. And for that, it's actually pretty easy because I'm only after their addiction. That's all. They can have whatever beliefs. This is not going to turn the entire country towards leftists or liberalism. That's not what's going to happen. We live together with racists. We live together. We're a family. We're stuck with these schmucks. And so what am I trying to do? I am trying to connect with them as intimately as I possibly can while pulling no punches on the content. And the content is not the MAGA-defined content. The content that I'm trying to get across is you've fallen for another one of these lifestyle brand cults, one of these self-confidence holy wars. I love you. I love you. You're a human being. I can relate to you. But you remember when I fell for that shit years ago? Different lifestyle brand? You're doing the same thing. You got to pull yourself back at some point, or else you just get lost in fiction. And in the meantime, reality is not going to cut you any slack for it. That's all I'm trying to get across, and I think there's a way to do it. So I'm happy when commenters vent about the Trumpists with me. And I'm happy to share memes. If you're not a subscriber on my Facebook, I must put out 10 snarky anti-Trump memes a day at my personal site, Jeremy Sherman. I keep on coming up with snark that is, that's an area where I'm glad to be sharpening my teeth as well. I want sharp teeth. But when I'm talking to a Trumpist, I want effect. I want to disappoint them. And I certainly can't do that at their game. When they stride with their smug sneering, they've lost me. I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not. But if they engage with me, then maybe we connect and find out where we disagree and leave each other with a little doubt. I think the problem we're dealing with, the reason why we have this holy war, self-confidence, lip service epidemic, is that we need to admit that we're human, and that's very difficult for any of us. To just admit that we do things that humans do, because we're humans, right? I mean, what else are we going to do? Everything in their repertoire is represented in my repertoire too. That's what it is to be human. And so the grandstanding, the sneering, and the talking about, having to stoop to their level, I get it. Questions of degree matter a lot, and they're at infinity. They've turned it up to infinity. Their humble bragging knows no bounds. Their virtue signaling knows no bounds. But I virtue signal, and I bet you do too. And I humble brag, and I snark, and I sneer. And so if we can admit that we do that, I don't dream of the day when we all live together in placid harmony, everybody generous spirited to each other. I mean, that would be a nice halfway point. I don't know if we get there, other than by the means I think are preferable, which are, I dream of the day when we can tease each other about our humanness, where you and I can laugh at each other with each other. That, to me, is the height of human intimacy, because we're all stuck in the same human condition. And so the grandstanding, I think, is the problem. And it's a problem for us, too. I want to be able to grandstand. I need it as a confidence currency. It's one of the ways I feel good about myself, is to put other people down. I mean, I'm a sadomasochistic like you are. I will say that all of us are, to some degree or another, sadomasochistic. What I mean by that is we like to lift ourselves up, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to put others down. I gossip. I get catty. I like to see that I'm doing that. I like to be aware of when I'm doing it. And I can be aware because I assume it's human, and I assume it's tribal and ideological, and people have been doing this for millennia. And so, yeah, I don't consider myself exempt, and I don't want to fall for exempt by contempt, which means since I have snark for their snark, that proves I'm exempt from having snark. That's stupid. So I dream of the day when we can tease each other, when you can laugh at me, with me, and I can laugh at you with you, and we would be calm enough about the fact that we are human to be able to tolerate that, and then talk very seriously about matters of consequence, and face consequences. That would be my ideal now. Don't feel like I'm asking you to abandon your snark. I'm suggesting you exercise it safely, that you off-jerk safely. That is, you vent your need to be the jerk, the snarky jerk, safely, skillfully. You got to figure out where to do which behaviors. But when you're with a Trumpist, by all means, try to connect with the dude or the lass, especially if they're family, and try not to talk morality. I think it's not there. It's a thing that humans do. We get we get stuck to what I'll call superfly paper. This is like paper, it's like fly paper that makes us feel superfly, like we are the coolest people around. That's all the Trumpists did. I've done it about all sorts of things. First of all, I got caught by various partners who were, for me, to a large extent, superfly paper, in that I didn't really belong there, but they would have me and I would have them. And 5-10 years later, I wake up and say, this is, I'm getting a bargain on something I don't actually want. So I've done it with partners. That sense of self-confidence, the endorphin rush of being endorsed, huge in my history. I was a member of a cult for a while. I don't think it was technically quite a cult, because we could laugh at and with each other, and you could leave easy enough. But I was certainly cultish about it. I would get on my high horse and talk morality as if I'd solved reality. It's just something that I did. I had the opportunity to do it, and it worked for me for a while, and then failed miserably. So I'm speaking from personal experience when I'm talking to a Trumpist. And to some extent, maybe you've had a similar experience. Maybe you've done something where you got in on the ground floor of a sinkhole because you weren't paying attention. It felt like Superfly, but it was Superfly paper. You just got stuck to it. You're flying around and suddenly you end up in something. I don't know many lives that haven't visited that station, haven't taken a excursion, as Trump says, to Assholia. I mean, most people have. So if you can come from that experience when you're talking to them and then snark your heart out when you're talking to us, or when you're composing for creativity, or when you're off jerking to feel some self-satisfaction, I think that the lip service epidemic we're entering is largely a function of what's happening to self-confidence. It used to be the obvious thing to do was that you got your confidence from being good at something. If you're good at something, you didn't have to worry about whether you were good for nothing. It's getting harder to get good at something. There are more people competing for high positions. There are less positions, and will be many less positions, high positions, in the next 5 years, if not sooner. So we're in a self-confidence crisis that is going to provoke in each of us a temptation, a sado-narcissistic temptation, to play hero bot, to snark at people. I got to figure out a way to vent mine as efficiently, cleanly as possible. And I also have to figure out how to deal with people who I think are destroying our country. It's a kind of innocent evil, a naive evil, and fascinates me. Sympathy for the devil, though not sympathy. I don't want to have sympathy. I want to have empathy and compassion. These words are a total mess. Sympathy, empathy, compassion, they all translate into same feeling. And so they're kind of a blur. We don't think about the distinction. But for me, empathy is putting myself in their shoes. Compassion is remembering when they were my shoes, to some degree or another. And sympathy is the compulsion to accommodate them, having had some empathy and compassion for them. That is putting myself in their shoes and remembering when they were shoes, giving into them to some degree. That is not what I'm after. I'm not after sympathy for the devil. I'm not after generosity to the devil. I want the devil disappointed. I want to plant a seed of doubt. That's about the best I feel I can hope for from these people. And so I keep on trying to figure out better ways to get that across. And I seek opportunities to do it with people who there's just no talking to. So let me remind you again, we have this study group that meets every other Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning, California time, on Zoom from all over the country and to some extent the world. We had a guy who called in from Ukraine last week. He wanted to be part of this meeting. His entire family had gone MAGA, and he had decided to go to Ukraine to help with construction. Amazing. But anyway, this is a group that is dealing with what I consider to be the 8 billion person question. How do you humbly humble humans who will say and do anything to avoid human humility? How to engage with people there's just no talking to. I think it's really important work. That's why I'm glad I became a psychoprotologist, which is, by the way, a light name for a dead serious subject. The people who consider themselves experts on assholes are the assholes. Hitler was sure he knew who the assholes were. Trump is sure he knows who the assholes are. So I can't take myself too seriously in this dead serious topic. I really have to take it seriously. And I have to doubt my own conclusions about it, because it's really dangerous to go around calling people assholes. I'm very selective about where I use that term. I'm trying to get very clear on what it is. Here's one last thing about that. A lot of where I started from, a lot of where people still are, is tell people how to behave. That's what morality is about. Make the world more moral by getting clear on moral principles. I don't see it that way. I think of morality as about constraint. In a free, adaptive society, you do not get to tell people how to live overall. But you do have to put a leash on the assholes, or else it won't remain a free, adaptive society. So mine is constraint-based. I think of it like the flat earth people. Try this out. I'm a flat earther in this one respect. I think that there's all sorts of ways to live. I mean, you look around the world, the variety is overwhelming. It's very impressive how diverse human lifestyles are. Really impressive. And some do better than others, so that would be on the landscape of the flat Earth. But there are edges, hidden in the clouds, vague edges you wouldn't want to fall off of. You could tip the entire world over. You carry a whole bunch of people down with you. I'm trying to keep people off that edge. I'm not trying to tell people what they should do. I'm trying to figure out what is a behavior that really is out of bounds. I can't call it, for example, extremism. Everybody's extreme by someone's standards. I think of it as absolutism. It's when you disconnect from reality, disconnect from other people in your hero-botic sport, in the self-satisfaction that comes from feeling like a hero, and that going to your head and being so dangerous for society. So I'm trying to figure out where that edge is. It's fuzzy. When you know someone has crossed the line, be anywhere on planet Earth. You know, walk all around the sphere that we are. It's not flat. But don't fall off the edge. That's what I'm about. And then if you see someone who's zombie-like crawling in that direction or sloping down some slippery slope in that direction, what do you do to try and tug them back before they fall over the edge of the flat Earth and take a bunch of us down with them? It's just, I mean, they could be doing it blind. They could be flying blind. They have innocent evil is a real problem. But that's where I come out, and I'm not trying to be generous. I'm not trying to be sympathetic. I'm trying to start where I can, and be tactical and strategic where I need to be when engaging with Trumpists. Thanks for listening. Come join that study group. If you're at all interested in exploring with us. I don't teach. We share ideas about things we've tried. You know, we'll talk about encounters we've had with a hero-botic person, whether it be MAGA or not. And we think together about that and wonder if there are better ways, and we lay out a variety of different possibilities. The theme there is repertoire, not recipe. There's not one formula. If we had it, if there were one, we'd have it a long time ago. But actually, absolutism co-evolves. When we find a way to make it not work, they find a way to make it work. It's just part of how propaganda works. So please come join us if you're interested. Just email me, and I'll put you on a mailing list. And you don't have to show up, and it's private. I don't share the email address with anybody, and I don't upsell you, and it's all done by Zoom. Come join us if you like. And thanks for listening.